Imagine waking up one morning and deciding to do something small, so small, in fact, that it feels almost insignificant. Maybe it's smiling at your child first thing in the morning, setting out their favorite breakfast, or making it a point to ask your partner how they slept. It doesn't feel grand or extraordinary, does it? But let me tell you something, that one small act, repeated every day, can shape your relationships in ways you might not expect. Consistency is like planting a seed. You don't wake up the next day expecting a full-grown tree. You water it, nurture it, and show up for it every single day. Over time, the roots grow deep, the trunk becomes sturdy, and soon enough, it bears fruit. This same principle applies to every area of our lives, especially our relationships. Think about it, what makes us trust someone? What makes us feel loved or valued by them? It's not the occasional grand gesture or once in a blue moon acts of kindness. It's the small, everyday things that tell us, I see you. I care about you. I'm here for you. Let me give you a simple example. Have you ever noticed how children thrive when they know what to expect? When a parent consistently shows up, whether it's helping with homework every evening or listening to their stories about school, it builds a sense of safety and trust. A child might not say thank you for being consistent, but their actions will show it. They'll come running to you when they're happy, when they're hurt, or when they simply need someone to lean on. Why? Because your consistency has shown them that you'll always be there. Now let's take this idea beyond children. Think about our adult relationships. How often do we forget the value of consistency with our partners or friends? We might assume they know we love them, but love is a verb. It's something we do every day. A good relationship isn't built in a day, it's built day by day. It's built through the quiet moments, the daily, how was your day texts, the small compliments, the shared meals, and the simple acknowledgement of each other's presence. These aren't flashy or showy acts, but they are the glue that holds relationships together. The beauty of consistency is that it doesn't require us to be perfect. It just asks us to show up again and again. There will be days when you don't feel like it, days when you're tired, frustrated, or busy. But those are the days when consistency matters the most, because it's in those moments that you prove you're not just acting out of convenience, you're acting out of commitment. What happens when we're consistent? We become reliable. We become someone others trust and turn to. We become the parent whose child doesn't hesitate to share their worries, the partner who is deeply cherished, the friend whose presence is a source of comfort. And here's the magical part. When you're consistent, people notice. It might not be immediate, but over time, they'll see the effort, the care, and the love. They'll feel it. And that's when you'll start to see the ripple effect. People will respond to you in ways you never imagined. More love, more trust, more connection. So as we begin exploring this idea of consistency, I invite you to think about one small, consistent action you can take every day. Remember, it's not about grand gestures, it's about showing up. Because when you make the effort to be consistent every day, the world, or at least the people in your world, will come running dot when we talk about consistency. It's easy to think of routines or habits we maintain for ourselves. But let's shift our focus for a moment. What happens when we apply consistency to the relationships in our lives? Imagine the trust, the connection, and the strength that can grow when we choose to show up, not just occasionally, but every single day. In any relationship, consistency is what builds trust. Trust isn't something you demand, it's something you earn brick by brick with your actions. Let me ask you, who do you trust more? The friend who checks in with you regularly, even if it's just a quick message to say they're thinking of you, or the one who only reaches out when they need something? It's the little consistent actions that make us feel valued and important in someone's life. Children, for instance, thrive on consistency in relationships. It's not just about being physically present, it's about being emotionally available day after day. When you take a moment each day to listen to a child, whether they're excitedly telling you about their latest drawing or confiding in you about something that upset them. You're doing more than just hearing their words. You're telling them, you matter to me. I'm here for you over time. This consistency becomes a foundation of trust, one that they'll carry with them as they grow. But it's not just children. Think about your partner, your spouse, or your close friends. Relationships often start with grand gestures, the excitement of new beginnings. But what sustains them? It's the everyday acts, a cup of coffee made in the morning, a hand held in a moment of quiet, or a simple, how was your day? These small, consistent moments send the message that the relationship is a priority, not just when it's convenient, but always. And here's the beauty of consistency. It has a compounding effect. The more consistent you are, the stronger the bond grows, and the easier it becomes to maintain. It's like a bank account of trust and connection. Every consistent action is a deposit, and over time, it builds into something invaluable. But I'll be honest, it's not always easy. There will be days when you're tired, distracted, or overwhelmed, and consistency might feel like one more thing to add to your plate. But those are the moments that matter most. Because consistency isn't about perfection. It's about showing up even when it's hard. It's about saying, I may not have it all figured out, but I'm here and I care. And what happens when you're consistent? Relationships begin to flourish in ways you may not have imagined. The child who once hesitated to open up to you will come running with their joys and fears. The partner who felt distant will feel more connected. The friend who thought they were an afterthought will realize they're cherished. Consistency doesn't just build relationships, it transforms them. So as we think about the role of consistency in our lives, ask yourself, what small, consistent action can I take today to strengthen my relationships? Because at the end of the day, it's not the big, rare gestures that define a relationship. It's the small, everyday choices that show love, care, and commitment. When we talk about consistency, one of the most remarkable aspects is how it transforms over time. What starts as small, seemingly insignificant efforts can grow into something truly extraordinary. And nowhere is this more evident than in the concept of the compound effect, how small actions repeated consistently lead to massive outcomes. Think about this for a moment. If you were to take a single step every day in one direction, you wouldn't notice much change in the short term. But over weeks, months, and years, that steady, consistent movement will take you miles away from where you started. This is the power of the compound effect. It's not about taking leaps, it's about the steady rhythm of small, intentional actions. Now let's bring this idea into our relationships in daily life. Imagine a parent who decides to spend 10 minutes each evening reading with their child. At first, it's just a bedtime story, a single, simple act. But over time, that habit builds not only the child's love for reading, but also their sense of connection with their parent. It's not just about the story, it's about the feeling of being valued, the memories created, and the trust built in those small daily moments. Or consider someone who chooses to say one kind thing to their partner every morning. It might be something as simple as, I appreciate you, or you make my day better in the moment. It doesn't feel like much. But over time, those small expressions of love and gratitude add up, creating a foundation of warmth and positivity that can carry a relationship through even the toughest times. The beauty of the compound effect is that it applies to every area of life, not just our personal relationships, but our professional lives and personal growth as well. Think about the workplace. A leader who consistently acknowledges their team's efforts will foster loyalty and motivation. It's not about grand speeches or bonuses. It's about the daily recognition that makes people feel seen and valued. But here's the catch. The results of consistency aren't always immediate. And that's where many of us falter. We start something new, whether it's a habit, a relationship effort, or a goal, and when we don't see instant results, we get discouraged. But the compound effect reminds us that the most meaningful changes take time. A tree doesn't grow in a day, and neither do strong relationships or lasting success. This brings us to an important point. Consistency requires faith. Faith that the small actions you take today will lead to something greater tomorrow. It's not always easy. There will be days when you feel like your efforts are going unnoticed or unappreciated. But those are the moments to hold on, to keep going, because every small step is bringing you closer to something remarkable. And when the results finally come, they often exceed anything you could have imagined. The child who felt loved every night because of bedtime stories grows up with a deep bond with their parent. The partner who heard consistent words of affirmation feels secure and cherished. The colleague who received regular recognition becomes a loyal ally. The rewards of consistency aren't just big, they're life-changing. So as we think about our lives, our relationships, and our goals, let's not underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. Because when we embrace them, we're not just making changes for today, we're creating a ripple effect that will shape our future in profound ways. And that's the real magic of the compound effect. It's proof that even the smallest steps, when taken consistently, can lead to extraordinary outcomes. Consistency is one of those quiet forces that doesn't announce itself, but its results can be seen and felt everywhere. When we commit to consistent actions, something almost magical begins to happen. People start to notice. The connections you build, the trust you earn, and the energy you bring into your relationships create a ripple effect. And over time, you'll see the people around you responding to that consistency in ways that are both surprising and rewarding. Think about how we naturally gravitate toward reliability. Imagine someone in your life who is always there when they say they'll be, who listens attentively, and who makes an effort to show you that you matter not once in a while, but consistently. How do you feel about that person? You trust them, you appreciate them, you want to be around them. This is the power of showing up day in and day out with intention and care. Consistency has a way of creating security. For children, it's foundational. A child who knows their parent will listen to them, spend time with them, or tuck them in every night feels safe. And when they feel safe, they flourish. They become more open, more willing to share, and more confident in seeking support when they need it. They don't hesitate to come running to you because they trust that you'll be there. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. The same is true for adults. Relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, thrive on consistency. A friend who checks in regularly becomes a lifeline. A partner who consistently expresses love and appreciation creates a bond that weathers life's storms. Even in the workplace, a leader who consistently acknowledges the efforts of their team builds loyalty and respect. It's not the grand gestures or occasional bursts of attention that define relationships. It's the steady, reliable presence. Consistency also builds your reputation. Think about people you admire or trust in your life. Chances are they're not just talented or kind, they're consistent. They're the ones who show up when they say they will, who follow through on their promises, and who make you feel valued every time you interact with them. Over time, this kind of reliability creates a magnetic pull. People begin to trust you more, rely on you more, and even seek you out for guidance or companionship. They come running not because of a single act, but because of the pattern you've established through consistent effort. But let's acknowledge something important. Consistency isn't always easy. Life is unpredictable. There are days when you might feel too tired, too stressed, or too distracted to show up in the way you'd like. And that's okay. Consistency doesn't mean perfection, it means commitment. It means making the effort to show up, even when it's hard, because you know that the small actions you take today will make a difference tomorrow. And when you do this, the ripple effect becomes undeniable. You'll see it in the way your child lights up when they hear your voice or see you after a long day. You'll notice it in the way your partner looks at you with gratitude for the little things you do. You'll feel it in the way your colleagues respect and appreciate your contributions. These are the moments when your consistency pays off, when your steady efforts come back to you in ways that warm your heart and strengthen your connections. The magic of consistency isn't just in the results you achieve, it's in the way it transforms you and the people around you. It builds trust, fosters connection, and creates a sense of reliability that people naturally gravitate toward. And over time, as you continue to show up, you'll find that the relationships and bonds you've nurtured through consistency are some of the strongest and most fulfilling parts of your life. So as we think about the power of showing up consistently, let's remember that it's not about perfection or grand gestures. It's about the small, daily choices that show others they can trust us, rely on us, and feel safe with us. And when you embrace that, don't be surprised when you look around and see the people in your life coming running. When you consistently show up for the people in your life, something extraordinary begins to happen. They respond. They notice. They feel it. And over time, those small, steady actions create a ripple effect that spreads far beyond anything you might have anticipated. It's as though your consistency sends out a signal that says, I care, I'm here, and I'm someone you can count on. And when people feel that, they can't help but come running. Let's start with relationships. Imagine a parent who makes it a point to show up every evening, no matter how busy or tired they are, to spend time with their child. They're there listening to their child's stories, helping with homework, or simply sharing a quiet moment before bed. At first, the child might not think much of it. It's just another part of their day. But over time, that consistency builds something much deeper: trust, security, and love. The child knows without question that this is a person they can depend on. And when they need comfort, guidance, or someone to share their joys with, they'll come running because they've learned through experience that their parent will always be there. The same is true for adults. Think about how it feels when someone in your life is consistently present for you: a friend who always checks in, a partner who makes an effort to communicate, or a colleague who reliably supports your work. These aren't necessarily dramatic or showy actions, but they're the ones that stay with us. They create a sense of reliability and connection that draws us closer to that person. And when we feel drawn to someone in this way, we naturally want to reciprocate. That's the ripple effect. The energy you put into your relationships comes back to you, often magnified. Now, let's talk about the flip side: inconsistency. When someone shows up only sporadically, it creates uncertainty. You're never quite sure if they'll be there when you need them. And that lack of reliability can weaken trust. But when you're consistent, when you make an effort, day in and day out, you build a foundation that others can rely on. It's this consistency that makes people feel safe, valued, and seen. And it's this safety that draws them towards you time and time again. But this ripple effect isn't just about personal relationships. It extends to every area of life. In the workplace, for example, a leader who consistently recognizes their team's contributions will find that their team is more motivated and loyal. Employees feel seen and appreciated, and as a result, they're more likely to go above and beyond in their work. Similarly, a teacher who consistently encourages their students, even in small ways, can inspire a classroom of young minds to believe in themselves and strive for success. Even in broader social interactions, consistency creates a kind of magnetic pull. Have you ever met someone whose kindness or generosity seemed effortless and constant? Someone who, no matter the situation, made you feel welcome and respected? Those people are the ones we're naturally drawn to because their consistency creates an environment of warmth and trust. And over time, that consistency becomes their legacy, the thing people remember and admire about them. But let's not forget that consistency requires effort. It's not always easy to show up every day, especially when life gets busy, stressful, or unpredictable. There will be days when you don't feel like putting in the effort. And that's okay. Consistency doesn't mean perfection, it means commitment. It's about making the choice again and again to be present, to care, and to act with intention, even when it's hard. And here's the beautiful part: when you're consistent, people don't just come running, they stay. They build deeper connections with you. They invest in the relationship. They trust you, rely on you, and value you in ways that are truly meaningful. That's the ultimate ripple effect, not just attracting people into your life, but creating relationships and bonds that are strong, enduring, and deeply fulfilling. So as we think about the power of consistency, remember that every small action has the potential to create something much larger than itself. When you show up every day, even in the smallest ways, you're not just making an impact, you're creating a legacy. And the people in your life will feel it, respond to it, and ultimately come running. Consistency is the bridge between intention and impact. It's the steady thread that connects our actions to the results we hope for, and nowhere is this more evident than in the way it influences how others perceive us. When you are consistent, you don't just shape relationships, you build a reputation. Over time, your reliability, care, and commitment become the foundation of how people see and interact with you. Let's consider a simple scenario. Imagine you have a friend who, no matter how busy life gets, always checks in with you once a week. It might be a phone call, a text, or even just a quick note to let you know they're thinking of you. Over time, this becomes a pattern or rhythm you can count on. And because of their consistency, you begin to trust them more deeply. You see them as someone who genuinely cares, someone who makes an effort, someone who values the connection. That's the power of consistency. It creates an impression that lasts far beyond the individual moments. In relationships, this is crucial. Think about the people you trust the most in your life. They're not the ones who show up only when it's convenient or when they're in a good mood. They're the ones who are there day in and day out through the ups and downs. Consistency tells the people in your life, I'm here for you not just today, but every day, and that kind of reliability fosters trust, security, and a deep sense of connection. It's the foundation upon which strong, enduring relationships are built. This isn't just true for personal relationships, it applies to professional ones as well. A colleague who consistently delivers on their promises, a manager who consistently acknowledges the efforts of their team, or a leader who consistently communicates with transparency and integrity, these are the people who earn respect and loyalty. In a world that can often feel unpredictable, consistency becomes a beacon. It tells others you can rely on me no matter what. But here's the thing, consistency doesn't mean being perfect. It's not about getting it right every single time or never making a mistake. It's about showing up even when it's hard. It's about making an effort even when you don't feel like it. And most importantly, it's about being honest and accountable when you fall short. Consistency isn't about pretending to be flawless. It's about being authentic and dependable, even in your imperfections. And here's where the magic happens. When you're consistent, people don't just notice, they respond. They start to trust you more. They feel more comfortable opening up to you, leaning on you, and building a deeper connection with you. Your consistency becomes a source of stability and comfort, something they can count on in a world that often feels uncertain. Over time, this creates a ripple effect. The energy you put into showing up for others comes back to you in the form of trust, loyalty, and stronger relationships. Consistency also teaches people how to treat you. When you consistently set boundaries, people learn to respect them. When you consistently show kindness and empathy, people are more likely to mirror that behavior. When you consistently uphold your values, people see you as someone with integrity. Every action you take sends a message about who you are and what you stand for. And when those actions are consistent, they form a clear and compelling narrative about your character. But let's not ignore the reality staying consistent requires effort. There will be days when it feels easier to skip the call, break the promise, or let something slide, and that's okay. Consistency isn't about never faltering. It's about picking yourself back up and continuing to move forward. It's about recommitting to your values and your relationships, even when it's challenging. And when you do, you'll see the results. The people in your life will come to rely on you, trust you, and value you in ways that are deeply meaningful. They'll know that you're someone who doesn't just talk about care, commitment, or connection, you live it. And that's when the real magic of consistency becomes clear. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you become. And when you embrace that, you'll find that the people who matter most will come running, not because of what you've done on one or two occasions, but because of the steady, unwavering effort you've made to show up for them every single day. Consistency doesn't just impact the people around you, it transforms you from the inside out. When you commit to showing up every day with intention and effort, you begin to notice a quiet but profound shift within yourself. It's not just about the actions you take, it's about the discipline, resilience, and sense of purpose that grows stronger with every step you take on this path. Let's start with the role consistency plays in building habits. When you make a conscious decision to take small, consistent actions every day, whether it's practicing gratitude, focusing on kindness, or dedicating time to your relationships, you're training your mind and body to follow through. Over time, what once felt like an effort becomes second nature. You don't have to think about it as much because consistency has woven these actions into the fabric of who you are. This transformation often begins with small, seemingly insignificant choices. Think about someone who decides to start each day by writing a quick note of appreciation to their loved one. On the first day, it might feel awkward or forced. But by the 10th day, it starts to feel natural. And by the 100th day, it's become a part of their identity. They're no longer just someone who occasionally shows appreciation. They're someone who consistently cultivates gratitude. That shift isn't meaningful for their loved one. It's transformative for them as well. Consistency also builds resilience. Life is unpredictable, full of ups and downs that can throw us off course. But when you've developed the habit of showing up consistently, whether it's for your relationships, your goals, or your values, you build an inner strength that helps you weather the storms. You learn to keep going, even when it's hard, because you've already proven to yourself that you can. And that resilience spills over into every area of your life. There's also a profound sense of clarity that comes with consistency. When you're clear about what matters to you and you take actions every day to align with those priorities, you eliminate the noise and distractions that can pull you in different directions. You don't waste energy second-guessing yourself or feeling scattered because you've already made the choice to commit. Consistency simplifies your life in the best possible way, creating a sense of focus and purpose that feels deeply fulfilling. But perhaps the most beautiful thing about consistency is the confidence it builds. Every time you follow through on your commitments, whether it's a promise to yourself or to someone else, you're reinforcing a belief in your own reliability. You start to see yourself as someone who is dependable, trustworthy, and capable of making a difference. That confidence isn't just about how others see you, it's about how you see yourself. It's about knowing that no matter what challenges come your way, you have the strength and discipline to keep moving forward. This personal transformation naturally extends to the way you interact with others. When you're consistent, people start to notice the changes in you. They see your commitment, your focus, and your reliability. They're drawn to the energy you bring into the room, the energy of someone who is grounded, purposeful, and steady. And as they gravitate towards you, your relationships deepen and grow stronger. The trust you've built through your actions becomes a foundation for connections that are authentic, meaningful, and lasting. But let's not pretend that consistency is always easy. There will be days when you feel tired, uninspired, or overwhelmed. There will be times when the effort feels thankless or when progress seems invisible. And yet those are the moments when consistency matters most. Because every time you choose to show up, even when it's hard, you're reinforcing the very qualities that make you stronger, more resilient, and more aligned with your values. And that's where the real transformation happens, not in the big, dramatic moments, but in the quiet, steady rhythm of daily effort. With each small, consistent step, you're not just changing your relationships or achieving your goals, you're becoming the person you were meant to be. Someone who is reliable, resilient, and deeply connected to their purpose. Someone who inspires trust and draws others toward them. Someone who makes an impact not through grand gestures, but through the steady, powerful force of consistency. When you embrace this transformation, you'll find that the people in your life start to reflect it back to you. They'll come running, not just because of what you've done for them, but because of the person you've become. And that ultimately is the greatest gift of all, the opportunity to grow, to connect, and to create a life that is meaningful and fulfilling in every way. Excellence isn't born overnight. It's nurtured through consistent, steady effort. Think about the people we admire for their mastery, whether it's an artist, an athlete, or even someone closer to home, a teacher who inspires, or a friend who always seems to excel in what they do. What sets them apart isn't a single moment of brilliance, but the thousands of moments of effort, practice, and refinement that came before. It's not about being extraordinary once it's about choosing to show up with dedication every single day. When you commit to consistent effort, you're planting seeds that will grow into excellence over time. Take learning a new skill, for example. If you pick up a guitar and play for an hour once every few months, you won't get very far. But if you dedicate just 15 minutes a day to practice, those small daily actions will add up. Over weeks, months, and years, you'll see progress that might surprise you. What felt difficult or awkward in the beginning will become second nature. Your fingers will find the chords instinctively, your confidence will grow, and one day, without even realizing it, you'll be playing beautifully. That transformation isn't sudden, it's the result of consistent, intentional effort. This principle applies to every area of life. Think about relationships. Excellence in relationships doesn't come from grand gestures or occasional acts of kindness. It comes from the little things you do every day, listening attentively, showing appreciation, and making time for the people you care about. Over time, these small, consistent actions build trust, deepen connections, and create relationships that are strong and fulfilling. And the beauty of consistency is that it doesn't just improve what you're doing, it changes who you are. You become someone who is dependable, thoughtful, and invested in the well-being of others. Let's look at another example of personal growth. Imagine someone who decides to read a single page of a book every day. It doesn't seem like much, just a few minutes of their time. But over a year, they've read an entire library's worth of knowledge. That small, consistent habit not only expands their understanding, but also shapes their mindset and enriches their perspective. Excellence doesn't come from reading one book in a day. It comes from the habit of learning and growing little by little every day. Consistency also has a way of revealing the hidden potential within us. When you commit to showing up regularly, even in small ways, you discover strengths you didn't know you had. A writer who commits to writing just a few sentences each day will eventually find their voice. A student who studies consistently, even for short periods, will build a deeper understanding of their subject. Excellence isn't a talent or a gift, it's a result of perseverance. And the more you practice consistency, the more you realize that you're capable of achieving things that once felt out of reach. But let's be honest, consistency isn't always exciting. There will be days when it feels monotonous, when progress seems slow, or when the temptation to give up is strong. It's in those moments that your commitment is tested. And it's in those moments that growth happens. When you push through the boredom, the frustration, and the doubt, you're building resilience. You're proving to yourself that you can keep going, even when it's hard. And that resilience is what sets the foundation for excellence. Consistency also builds a momentum of improvement. Each small effort builds on the one before, creating a compounding effect. A chef who perfects one recipe at a time eventually becomes a master of their craft. A runner who adds just one more lap to their routine every week eventually conquers marathons. It's not about the size of the steps you take, it's about the fact that you've taken them. And as you do, you'll find that excellence isn't just a destination, it's a journey that transforms you along the way. And here's the thing about excellence, it's contagious. When you consistently strive to improve, the people around you take notice. They see your dedication, your persistence, and your growth, and it inspires them to do the same. Your consistency becomes a source of motivation, not just for you, but for everyone who watches you. Excellence cultivated through consistency has a ripple effect that touches lives far beyond your own. So as you think about your goals, your relationships, or the person you want to become, remember that excellence isn't about extraordinary moments, it's about ordinary actions done consistently over time. It's about showing up even when it's hard and committing to the process, knowing that the results will come. And when you do, you'll not only achieve excellence, you'll inspire it in others.